There was this company that I really wanted to work with, and the problem was I had already messaged them before. Not in a weird way, just like a normal freelance message, but you know how it is. Once you reach out, they don't respond. So I was sitting there thinking, trying to figure out what to say to them. And I was like, do I send another message? But then I realized I'm just going to get stuck in this conversation where it never actually moves forward. What if there was a different way to send messages out to these people and just look more professional, basically? So I built a mood board for them instead, and that was really fun. And I had actually done this for other clients, so it really didn't feel like a big deal. If you're not familiar, mood board's just really like a collection of references or images that you feel like could match the brand or whatever concept you're coming up with. It's a really professional way to collect your ideas and present them to somebody. A lot of effort for clients, and they really like that because it seems like you're really invested in them and their success. But right before I sent it, I realized something, that this is actually a bad idea. I realized that if they said yes with just the mood board, that it could be really bad, because if the client responds and they're like, my budget is 500, let's make this happen, you're kind of, oh, what? You're set in at 500 because you propose this giant project to them and it's super cool, but that's the budget that they have. So you talked yourself into a job that's not well paid at all. And then all of a sudden your conversation is moving backwards because you were trying to be like, oh no, like, I need more money, or like, we need to scale down the scope because I just can't do that for this amount. My mind just started going all over the place. I was thinking, what if the mood board itself was like just a pitch, right? It's just a couple more slides, just a couple more ideas, just throw in a pricing sheet and see if it works, I guess. So I turned the mood board that I'd made into full pitch deck for the project that I wanted to make with these guys. And I thought that made a lot more sense. I structured it entirely how I would normally do a pitch deck, slide by slide, basically. The first one just being the title slide, what we're doing, what's the idea of what we're going to be going over. After the title slide, I included a goal list. And I thought that was kind of cool. Allowed them to be in a mindset before anything else. So they're already getting them to the point where they can see this project unfolding. And then from there, I created this whole mood board that had an effect of the actual references that they would be seeing for a project like this. From there, I included a really rough timeline that just basically outlined this week I could this next week I could do this, and we could have it done within 3 to 4 weeks. And I thought that was nice while I was creating the pitch deck to, again, showcase if they had 2 months of time or whatever it is that they'd be focusing on. Because again, their business mindsets, that this timeline would help them understand that more their language, basically. And then from there, I created the actual part that I was struggling with, which was the pricing slide. But then I was like, I don't want to just put up a big price and be like, oh, this is the price. I've seen people do big prices and then they have add-ons so they protect themselves long term. But I was like, there's not a ton of space for negotiation. There's not a ton of wiggle room. And then I realized something, and that's that I had heard of the psychology of choices with people. So the reason why everything today is in whatever subscription service in 3 tiers, basically, it's because by switching the idea from this is what it costs to this is what you're choosing, helps people to go through the buying process mentally from this is something that is being taken on to me, I'm paying for this thing, versus, oh, I get to choose the pricing structure that I go for. And just really a simple flip like that, even though we're just freelancers, even though I'm just making a pitch deck for these guys who I wanted to work with, it made a lot of sense in my mind. I was actually really excited about that to give to them and see if it made sense at all. So I sent the slide and they responded and they wanted to meet up. And I was so excited about that. Like that, I was hoping that obviously it would happen, but I wasn't really sure where it would go. And honestly, it almost kind of made things worse because I was sitting there, oh gosh, now, like, did they like it? What did I do? They just like responded, let's meet up, kind of excitedly, but you don't really know. So you're just thinking there, sitting, okay, did I charge enough? Did this make sense? Was I clear enough? Was I coming through to them? What actually made them want to go ahead? What was it about the pitch deck that helped them, basically? But again, I realized something super cool about this whole process, and that was that I had already done most of the work with this whole pitch concept, basically, because I had outlined everything that you typically outline in an actual meeting. I'd had so many meetings where you're sitting there, hey, whatever, how's it going? I do 3D animation, blah, what do you need? Basically, well, I want a 3D animation. And so when you sit there and you're not selling them, you're not having like clear concept, you're not in it with them, struggle between you and them, you're like in real time figuring out this project that you're trying to sell to somebody with no guides, no anything. So I was just like, again, this is so cool because I have this fully functioning board that has basically all the details that we need, and it's going to be perfect for this meeting. I'll just go literally step by step by step and kind of gauge their reactions almost to everything that they see, and that gauge will also inform me what's really interesting. The other thing that was really cool about this was that the pricing was already clear. And it's just like really simple psychological shift to having it on the screen versus saying it to somebody. It's crazy. It blew me away when we had the meeting because I was just sitting there. No, it costs this much to do a project like this, and it makes sense. And I didn't feel weird because sometimes when you're in a meeting with somebody and they're not sure on what 3D animation is, they're not sure on the pricing, they're not sure on the project, they're not sure on everything else, you actually come back to the pricing and you're like, well, this person's not even confident with me, so why would I charge them X amount when in reality it should be this amount? You start getting in your head and everything, but having it on the screen in front of me and them, it just made so much more sense, and it was so much simpler than actually coming back and being like, maybe we can take this down or we can scope it out or whatever. Having it on the screen was clear, direct, professional, and I had no idea it was going to work out like that at all. We're in this pricing slide, and I'm talking with them, and I got to be honest, in reality, I thought it would be smart, but where I wanted the projects to be on the lowest tier. I know that sounds crazy, because typically the lowest tier is like what bare minimum, right? Or the essentials, whatever it is that you can do at bare minimum to help these guys. But I really wanted this project, and I really wanted to make something super cool. And so for the lowest tier, that was actually where my ideal budget was, where I wanted this to work out. I knew that it could be somewhere, and I wanted that price to hit too, so there was no resentment. The middle tier was crazy. It was like super ambitious. I was like, yes, I could definitely do this. It would take a little longer, but I was just super excited. Middle tier, it's got all the bells and whistles, everything else. The highest tier though, I was like, dizziest daydreams, just throw this up there and see, just to make the other ones look more approachable, basically. All the bells and whistles, all the polish, everything, throw it up there just for funsies, just to have like a reference really to come down to, so they felt better about the lower tiers, which is where I wanted to be at anyway. So here's the craziest bit about this whole story. The founder was in the meeting with me and the marketing manager, and she was obviously getting up. They wanted to talk about pricing. Everybody goes back and forth with pricing, and she wanted to go for the highest tier, and I was just like trying to not visibly be blown away by this concept, but she said that she liked the pitch and the effort that went into the presentation so much that she felt confident in my ability to make an animation for them, and felt like the only thing that made sense for them was to do the highest tier. This again is the craziest part. I realized in making this for them and getting all this really good feedback, the whole thing was flipped on its head, or at least my idea of freelancing was flipped on its head, right? You don't need followers, you don't need better skills. You don't need this crazy giant portfolio that's super epic. It's just you and the client. It's just you and this conversation that you're having with them. If your pitch is super ideal to them and their marketing ideas, it sings. It just literally sings to them, and it makes so much sense. And you're changing by your passion and showing your effort and everything else. You're changing the perceived value of this entire thing. They trust you because you have shown that you have that confidence now to do the job, basically. Because again, if you think about this like a company, they want to invest. They think of it like an investment because they should, right? It's a marketing investment, and that's how you have to come off to them, right? You have to speak their language in order to make things work. And honestly, as I did more pitches and more things kept coming up and everything, I realized that these tiers can also be added to. Perceived value is in everything that you're already making for these guys. And so I realized that things like simulations, modeling, different types of advanced texturing, and certain lighting can all be added to your animations. And one of the biggest things that I've recently added is motion capture. And that's thanks to our sponsor, Rokoko. Because the mocap suits that they have make it so fast and lifelike to animate humans, I'm able to actually put that into these pitches that I'm talking about. And people really like them because it's organic, really, at the end of the day. And it adds a ton of perceived value to projects. And it totally pays for itself in this way. And when clients see that you have that type of possibility, they feel, again, more confident because you're showing them that you've got this full circus, this whole thing that you're offering to them. And that's huge. It's confidence, it's clarity, it's everything wrapped into one. When you make a project feel bigger, you make it feel more grandiose. The clients come back and they're like, wow, we're getting all of this value. We're getting all these different things. Simulations, motion capture, design, modeling. It's so much easier for them to say yes to those higher tiers and get you paid more because you have these different offerings for them, right? So after that, I made a template basically for me to use when other clients come up because I have everything well sorted and it just makes sense. But then I realized that is a huge asset. That is something that would be really valuable to other people. So I have put together a full package, a fill-in-the-blank template, obviously for the whole thing, but then I go into actual pricing psychology so that you understand exactly where you're coming from and you figure out how to actually price your work. Because again, at the end of the day, you can say all these things, you can understand the tiers and whatnot, but until you get into the actual rhythm of quoting and understanding your work, you might be undervaluing yourself. And then finally, I have an actual walkthrough. That's kind of this, where I'm showing you that not only is this whole cool visual pitch deck, but the actual way in which you should be talking about it. Because the pitch obviously isn't just your ideas. It can be. You can just send that to them, and sometimes that works. That's enough because again, it's so high effort. It's so professional. But if you're able to actually get on a call with people and talk to them about why you have this mood board, why you have this project idea, why it makes sense for you to be working on these different structures with them, these different pricing tiers, that's everything. They feel so much more comfortable knowing who you are, right? And they obviously, that high effort comes out in clarity and confidence. So I have included a total walkthrough and the full package basically in a product in the link down below. This is a really good example of how a small change can make you seem much more professional and increase the amount of budget that a client has in a project, and that could be huge. And then on top of that, they trust you. Since I've been doing this process, I've had a ton of people come back to me and say that they loved the pitch. Honestly, I've had so many clients come back to me and just be like, I really enjoyed how you took our product or you took our idea threw it into a visual concept and you were just so excited about it. And that's huge to them. A lot of people aren't used to these visual metaphors, these ways of thinking in a meaningful digital visual way. And so by showing that to them, that is a huge value that, again, us as artists and freelancers, we're used to, but your clients may not have ever seen their product in that way. So definitely at least check out the process. Again, it's all in Canva, right? And so this whole thing is set up really well. If you're interested, check it out down below. And I'm going to be continuing this series where I'm talking about 3D business, freelance business, and let me know if there's more things besides pricing. In my Instagram story recently, I had people say that something that they really wanted to hear about was client outreach. And so hopefully this helps out a little. I think there's probably a lot more that we can go into, so I'll save that for another video.